welcome back to this week's edition of the Steel Show. As always, joined by head coach Mike Morawski. Everybody's feeling good, obviously, beating rival Eastern Oregon. Coach, a little bit of a sloppy game out there, whether it was mistakes on both sides or special teams errors in the kicking game on both sides, but your defense really shined in this one. So talk about the reaction from your whole team, but certainly the defense.
No doubt. The defense was great, and they're capable of doing it. I don't think Eastern Oregon had over 200 yards. New quarterback, Kai Quinn, was out with a concussion. So that was disappointing. I think we said last week,
totally.
that we look forward to playing against him for the 9th or 10th time. So he's a great competitor. So you hate to see that happen. I thought their quarterback did well in spots, but we give people trouble mainly because we can just cover on the perimeter so well. Our corners, Isaiah Abdul, I failed to mention them last week, but Isaiah Abdul and Dorian Harden, number 2 and number 3, have just had fantastic years. They are the best corners in the league, I believe, and game in, game out, every type of throw. Dorian finally got a couple of interceptions. Isaiah plays to the field usually, and again, what's amazing is they play so technique sound.
Yeah.
And I'll just mention one thing, because I heard somebody even from the stands talking about look back, look back, look back. I just want the fans to know we teach them not to look back until it's a very, very particular situation. And the reason for that is the quarterback's not throwing them the ball. So if you look back, then you lose track of where the receiver is. And so the fundamental way to play, and this is from Alabama to the NFL, is to keep your eyes on the receiver and then play his hands as he goes up for the ball. And those guys did that. Dorian did it twice. One time tipped the ball up to himself that he caught. And Isaiah Abdul, there's probably 10 different times. I mean, literally textbook coverage on those wide receivers.
Not enough people understand how hard it is. First of all, in my opinion, the corner spot might be the hardest position on the field physically, only because you don't know where the receiver's going. It requires, I think, the most amount of pure athleticism. Right. But when you're challenged on an island to defend without fouling, kind of like a basketball term, but to defend with great technique and almost never get called for pass interference is not an easy thing.
Yeah, so it's athleticism, and then it's also the discipline. But I think to not have a breakdown in there too is what's amazing. And maybe there is, and they don't throw the ball, so there's always that component. But those guys have been amazing. And then added to that, I thought we got pretty good pressure.
Absolutely, that was my next point.
With the 4-man rush. So Keegan McCoy continues to play great. Or kind of by committee.
Yeah, talk about the committee and how they're just able to find a way to produce each game, and sometimes it's a different guy.
Right, so Vince Seth had 2 sacks, senior, not really a pass rusher, but just a great, smart senior player. So on senior day, for him to get a couple of opportunities was amazing. Geno Allen is back from a very precarious injury, and I think he'll help us down the stretch here. And so that was exciting. Tanner Sackman
continues to play
young
well.
freshman, just play solid. They're smart. Some of these young guys are we think, can be really, really good in the future already. They're very smart, disciplined, doing what we want them to do. And Cade Flitt, Miles Maupin at defensive end. So we kind of have 2 strings. Willie Nelson, we kind of bring in those guys. Brad Cushman has had a great year at D-tackle too. And
but it seems like there's not a big drop off.
Not a big drop off
production.
So we play 8 guys. And sometimes 9. And I think 10 or 11 actually played Saturday, but significantly 8 or 9. So that makes a big difference to be able to keep them in there, keep them fresh. They play hard. Coach Landon Gamble, one of our great players who finished in 2019, is coaching the defensive line and doing a fantastic job. So hats off to those guys.
Yeah, so moving over to the offensive side.
Well, let me say this. Dylan Martinez continues to be great. Over 100 tackles on the year. So for a sophomore, I think he's having an All-American year. Tanner Leaf continues to play great too. Capital High School young man, and just does great stuff and has made some great plays. So really happy with the linebacker.
Yeah, and on every level, from D-line to linebackers to secondary. Seems like they've been a great defense all year, really hit their stride lately and making it tough on offenses.
More dynamic, and really Tayson Harden is the one that holds it all together. He's just handful, and he makes a lot of plays. And again, it's speed, it's athleticism, and by dynamic, I mean they play the ball well. They're great technicians, but they are fast, and they're physical too.
Yes, sir.
So these guys are very, very good players.
Yes. So, one of the biggest stories of the game, and someone I definitely want to get a chance to talk about, Nick Calzaretta breaking the all-time rushing record at C of I. Talk about what he's meant to the program. You've seen him for the last 4.5 years, and mostly just what he means to the program.
Well, he's just one of those guys that's a great person to have on the team because he loves football so much and loves to compete, and so it kills him to not be in there. So he's had a couple injuries over the year, broke his thumb one year, and it just kills him. This year sprained ankle, but it's been able to come
Work
back
through
from
it,
that. Didn't practice a lot the last 2 weeks really, but there's just something about his presence, and there's very few guys that I can think of in my time here so far that he just kind of gives everybody a comfortable feeling, because and really the number one thing about Nick, and he understands blocking schemes, and he's very instinctive in the way he runs, but he's just so darn tough. The way he runs, his pads are low, no one ever gets a great hit on him, and then he's also one of those guys that seemingly gets better the more he carries the ball. So again, late in the game, I think his longest run from scrimmage might have been 8 or 10 yards, maybe only 1 or 2 of those, and a couple of 5 or 6 yard runs, and then he
breaks one,
goes for 76.
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of the way we're built. We're never ever going to give up on running the ball. And again, a team like Eastern Oregon, I think I might have said last week, and I know I told the team this, there's a lot of 1 yard gains, 2 yard gains, 3 yard gains, but what you live for kind of is the 176 yard.
Yeah, we're going to pause one.
We're going to find out a way, and with all their line stunting and stuff, and again, they're good. They got 2 of the best defensive linemen in the country, and they gave us real trouble, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but going way back, I saw Dom Garzoli on the field after the game. Remember in 2018, he had a couple of really long runs over in LeGrand, and so again, very similar plays. That's the way Eastern plays, and they're very, very difficult to deal with. But I was proud of the way our guys hung in there. We hung in there, break the big one, and that's the ball game with as well as our defense is playing.
All right, Coach, so moving on to Carroll Week. Dropped a game against them earlier in the season at Simplot Stadium. Tough loss. We need another opportunity to end the year here and hopefully set up a postseason opportunity. So what do the Yotes have to do differently in order to come away with the win here?
Well, we really felt like, and that was a hard-fought game, and we felt like we let it slip away a little bit. So we didn't play our best football in the fourth quarter, and you need to play all 4 quarters against a team like Carroll. Storied program, all those national championships. They're the class of the conference in many, many respects. We understand that, just the way they coach, the way they handle themselves. They're tough, and they'll be ready to go. They're playing for a winning season, and that's a big deal to them. And they've played well all season. They've had nothing but close games, similar to us. And so I think it's an even-Steven game, and for us, it's an opportunity to win the conference. It's as simple as that. Playoffs will take care of itself. And we aren't. We know what's happening. Obviously, Rocky's playing Montana Western, but that's not our concern. Our concern is all Carroll, and we got to take care of our business. And again, on defense, they're quirky and they're difficult, and they've been proved to be a difficult matchup for us both last spring and in the fall this year. So we have a lot of respect for their players. They're experienced in the center of the defense. They're a little younger on the perimeter, but they are a really formidable defense. They make it hard to run against them, and I think there's some opportunities there, but we got to be at our best. We really do.
Do you feel like from the last game to this one, was a scheme thing? Do you feel like you guys didn't have the plan that you love going in? Or is it just one of those situations where, hey, we got to just execute a little better, and if we do that, probably be a better situation?
I think it's the latter. I think it's execution. We executed extremely well in spots at the last game. I mean, we scored on our first drive, and then we scored on our last drive of the half and the very first drive of the second half. So it felt like, hey, we're up 21-7. You know, we're just starting to get going. But football's football, and anything can happen. And we kind of hit a lull. We turned it over a couple of times. They started making a couple big plays. So their offense, they like to find a way to run the ball too. They're big up front. They got a great tight end. You know, one of the most dynamic players in the conference. Number 12. Their freshman quarterback, Jack Perka from Coeur d'Alene High School, has had a great year, I think. So he just began starting right around the time we played him the first time. So he's playing extremely well too. So now he's an experienced guy. I think it's going to be a great game. We are going to need to be at our best. So they'll find a way to run it. They're throwing the ball reasonably well. They have some creativity to what they're doing too, and so there'll be a test for our defense, I believe. So
yes,
we're excited about it. You know, I mean, Carroll is a big game. I think it is a rivalry game for us as a program. I mean, when we came into the conference, and I mean that in the most respectful way, we have tons of respect for Carroll College and the way they do every year that we've played them, and we look forward to the challenge. It's a great environment up there. They do a great job, and their whole athletic department is top notch. We know we're going to have to be at our best to beat them. So we're excited about that challenge and opportunity. The greatest thing of all is that it's a championship football game in Week 10.
Yeah, you got something to play for in the last few years.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a lot. It's a big deal. So we're excited about that.
How do you keep your team, and like you said, I mean, there's a lot in front of you still, and there's a lot to play for this week. So you may not struggle with this, but you know, obviously, like you said, there's some outside factors involved with Rocky Western and potential playoff berths. How do you just keep your team locked in on the next 5 or 6 days and just focus in on going 1-0 this week and letting everything else happen, you know, how it will?
Yeah, an old friend of mine told me, you know, you're not playing Carroll till Saturday, so what you need to do is put the work in on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think our guys are smart enough to do that. But we've had to have a lot of guys step up and, you know, for example, our right tackle, Ryan Halford, who's had a fantastic year, wasn't able to play last week. Pulled a muscle in his back and just stiffened up, just wasn't going to be right. We felt like Eastern Oregon, you need practice time to play against a team like that. So Brett Gittison comes in there, I thought played fantastic. So that's just very satisfying for us to do. We're also very banged up, but everybody is this time of year, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
So it's cause to be even more disciplined, more concentrating. You know, we really need to, you know, you can't take anything for granted. So it really is a fun game to coach in.
Yeah.
You know, coaching's going to make a difference. I believe that the coaches don't play the game, obviously, so it's all a matter of preparing our team and getting them to own the plan and the schemes and study a little bit extra maybe this week. Wish we were at home. But we're playing well on the road. Sometimes there's a sense of, hey, it's us against the world when we get on the road. That's what we try to sell. And I think our guys like each other, like to travel. We have a good time. We'll have a great workout on Friday in Butte. We'll practice, and then we'll get to Helena. But I think by this time of year, even your young players aren't young anymore. So they understand the rhythm of the season. All I want them to do is be at their best in the preparation phase.
Be in the moment.
Be in the preparation phase and all in. And I think we've had a lot of little mistakes in games. And again, you play good teams every week. They're going to expose every little thing. So we need to appreciate that. I think we do. And I'm excited. I'm excited for our guys. I'm excited for our staff. I think we feel very fortunate to be where we are and excited about playing a championship game.
Yes, sir. Well, Yoke fans, hope you guys tune into the stream this week. As always, you can find the link at the CFI football schedule online. Obviously, like Coach said, excited for a championship football week. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and go Yokes this week. Thank you.